Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian of Supermarcy.com, and welcome to my video review of, without a doubt, probably the most polarizing film to have been released in cinemas this year. No, I'm not talking about Batman vs Superman, I'm talking about the new reboot of Ghostbusters. So let's get right into it. Now, I should start off right at the bat. I love Ghostbusters. I think it is without a doubt one of my all-time favorite comedies. And if I had to, I would say it's my second favorite comedy of all time after Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So I have a lot of love to this film, I think. And when I sort of heard that they were doing another one, I thought, okay, cool. You know, like it's been a long time since we've had a Ghostbusters film in the cinemas. The last one, of course, being Ghostbusters 2 back in 1990, I believe. I could be wrong, so forgive me. So I was kind of curious to see how it turned out. But then when Paul Feig, who are the director behind Bridesmaids, Spy, and The Heat, signed on to co-write and direct. He decided to not sort of make it like a sequel to the first two Ghostbusters films, but rather sort of a reboot of the franchise with a whole new cast and whatnot. So in that regard, I found that quite kind of interesting. Like, would I have loved to have seen a third installment of the Ghostbusters franchise? I mean, yeah, sure, but you know, I was pretty open to, you know, the whole idea of a sort of a reboot of the franchise, and so on and so forth. But yeah, a lot of people weren't. But you know, that's since the film sort of, even its conception, it's got a lot of sort of controversy around it, and I'm not going to go into that because you know that could be entirely in its own video by itself. But to be honest, I kind of feel like a lot of it was. I can understand why some people might have been upset. I mean, if you didn't like the film, if you didn't think it was funny or just didn't think it was as good as the first one, that's fine. But don't say really awful things about the cast or the crew or anything like that to the point where it's just becoming off as like misogynistic, hateful, racist and stuff like that. But you know, like I said, that's a whole different story right there. But I mean, to be honest though, I was just very curious to see how it turned out. And I have to say though, despite what a lot of people think, I actually really enjoyed this film a lot. I have to say, as far as a reboot of Ghostbusters goes, was pretty darn good. Like, I enjoyed the cast, and I think I'm a big fan of the four central leads of the film. Kristen, Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones. I think they're all really hilarious, and sort of the idea of the combination of them as the leads for this film was really exciting to me, because I really enjoyed this, sort of all of their comedic work, and I really enjoyed them as actors as well. So I thought they did a really good job in this film. I thought they had a really good chemistry with each other, and there was just and a good rapport with each other as well. And as well as like there's sort of, you know, with and co-writer director Paul Feig, like there is a lot of nods and all that here to the original series as well, like little homages and references, and even some of the some cast members from the original two films making cameos as well. But like, yeah, it does follow the sort of the same beats as the original, and I will admit that that's kind of like one of my, I guess, my biggest flaws with the film. But I still thought it delivered on what it set out to be by really being a really enjoyable and really funny film. Like, there were a lot, like, yeah, there's the occasional joke here and there that kind of fell flat, but for most of the time, I found a lot of the jokes to be really funny, and I think, to me, what made the film work for me as a whole was, of course, the cast. I think they do, like I said, they all did a really good job, and the chemistry together was just what worked for me. And of course, you know, Paul Feig just knows how to do comedy so well with his films. I mean, I love Bridesmaids and I love Spy. I was kind of humming it, sort of mixed on The Heat, but to me, he knows how to work comedy really well, and he even does the sort of the big action set pieces really well. I mean, after when I saw Spy last year, I thought, you know, just based on that, I thought, okay, I'd be interested to see what he would do with sort of the big sort of action set pieces of Ghostbusters, and I thought he did a pretty good job overall. And I thought the designs of the ghosts were really cool and really creative, and I like that a lot of them was sort of a mixture of sort of practical and also CGI. Like, there are some CGI ghosts in there, but I thought they were just handled really well because how they were sort of designed was really unique and interesting. Yeah, and also the supporting cast were all really solid in their roles. But of course, Chris Hemsworth playing probably the biggest idiot in the history of mankind. And it makes me laugh that there are people out there who kind of have a problem with this character by being too dumb. And in a way, I can see why, because he's a pretty idiotic character. But I have to give credit for Chris Hemsworth just going full bore with that performance. Like, he pretty much steals every scene he's in. And I thought it was a lot of fun. But of course, like I said, there are some sort of things that didn't quite work about the film. I think when the film kind of does try to homage to the original, it does kind of not really work, because I'd rather sort of, especially with reboots now, I kind of wish that a lot of reboots kind of just go and do their own thing. Like, you can have little references here and there, but when you sort of have a lot of elements that kind of harken back to stuff from the first film or first few films, it does kind of get rather distracting in a way, because it's sort of more focused on being, making those references rather than being, its own thing. But when it's kind of its own thing, that's when the film really works. And then, like I said, it kind of does follow the beats of the original story and whatnot of the first film. And of course, the villain of the film, who I thought the actor was fine in the role, but I kind of feel like he was underdeveloped as a villain. Like, there are some really interesting things with that character, but I kind of wish the film kind of delved into it more. But I do give the film credit for at least when it approached how this villain, like the villain of this film, they didn't kind of, do the first villain from the first film over again. Like, they created their own villain. So I give the credits for that. The film credit for that. But I kind of wish they kind of developed it more. So, yeah, I mean, overall, Ghostbusters 2016, I really enjoyed. I know the film wasn't as huge as the box office as expected, so there's probably not going to be a chance there will be, a sequel. And I know a lot of people out there are probably going to be happy with that, but whatever. But for me personally, I'd like to see another one. I really enjoyed the cast, and I would have loved to have seen more of adventures with these characters. And to me, Ghostbusters, there's a lot of potential with Ghostbusters. I mean, I haven't grown up with it, not with just the two films, but also the two animated series that came out prior after that. Like, there's so much of a world that you can explore with Ghostbusters, and I'd love to see more of that in future films. I mean, if we do get it, of course. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So if I had to give Ghostbusters a rating, I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one a lot. And I think it's probably one of the most underrated comedies of the year so far. So, yep, that's the end of my video review of Ghostbusters 2016. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you, everyone. Bye.